Every now and then, a story hits my inbox that doesn't quite fit anywhere. Too long for a 10-minute segment, too short for a full hour. So it just sits there, untouched. Until one day, I finally open it and instantly regret not reading it sooner. This story came with no title, no name, no location. Just one sentence. This is a true Skinwalker encounter. And after going through it myself, I honestly think it might be one of the most terrifying Skinwalker stories ever sent to this channel. Tonight, you can decide whether you believe it or not. Because Mason, the man who lived this, he's not trying to entertain you. He's trying to warn you. There were 2 moments in my life where I'm absolutely certain I was dealing with a Skinwalker. Not the Hollywood kind, not the internet meme. I'm talking about the real ones. The kind Navajo elders don't talk about unless they have to. My name is Mason. I'm Navajo on my mother's side, and I grew up splitting my life between Tulsa and Window Rock, Arizona. For 15 years, I worked as a wilderness EMT and volunteer search and rescue coordinator for San Juan County. I've seen bodies that had been sitting in the back country for weeks. I've treated hypothermia, rattlesnake bites, falls off cliff faces. I've even had one run in with a mountain lion that I still think about sometimes. Nothing, absolutely nothing, ever prepared me for what I saw during a search in 2006. But before I get to that, I have to start where this story really began. The first time I met one. I was 10 years old. It was late July, the kind of Arizona heat where you can't walk barefoot outside without burning your feet. My little brother Kent and I were staying with our grandparents for 2 weeks. Dad called it a much-needed vacation for him and Mom. At 8 years old, Kent was basically a walking set of questions. Big head, skinny legs, and zero concept of personal space. He followed me everywhere. Most of the time it annoyed me. But in my grandparents' house, with all its dark corners, creaky floors, and that heavy desert silence, I didn't mind having him around. My grandfather was one of those men who never really told stories. He'd just talk. You had to listen closely, or you'd miss things he slipped in like puzzle pieces. Most of the time he'd be working, fixing a fence, cleaning his rifle, tuning his truck, and suddenly he'd say something that didn't sound like a story until hours later. That day, he was skinning a rabbit he'd shot that morning. I was sitting on an overturned bucket watching him. Kent was inside helping our grandmother make fry bread, which meant mostly eating dough while she cooked. Grandfather sliced open the rabbit with the kind of precision you only get after decades of doing the same thing. Then, without looking at me, he said, "You know why we don't whistle at night?" I shook my head. We'd been told that rule since forever. Don't whistle after dark. But nobody ever explained why. Grandfather peeled the rabbit's hide with a clean, practiced motion. "Whistling calls things," he said. "Things that listen." A chill went up my spine, even though the heat was brutal that day. He continued, "Most nights, nothing answers. But sometimes, something does." He didn't look at me. Not once. Just kept working on that rabbit like this was all casual dinner conversation. Then he told me about a man from Chinle. Long time ago. Maybe before the long walk. Maybe before that. This man wanted power. Wanted to do things most people can't do. Wanted to live forever. So he learned the dark way. Killed his own brother to do it. Wore his brother's skin. Until the skin became his. After that, he could wear anything's skin. Coyote, owl, deer, even people. My mouth went dry. "Did they catch him?" Grandfather said softly. "No. Things like that. You don't catch them. You avoid them." He finally looked at me then. You don't say their name. You don't whistle at night. You keep your windows closed and your doors locked. And you never, never invite something inside. His eyes were dead serious. If you see something that doesn't move right, or doesn't sound right, even if it looks like someone you know, you run, because it's not them anymore. Then he went back to skinning the rabbit, like he hadn't just dropped the most terrifying warning of my life. The scratching at 2:47 a.m. that night, I barely slept. The window was open because the heat was unbearable. The curtains barely moved in the still air, and every shadow in the room felt like it was watching us. Kent slept easily. Of course he did. He could sleep through an earthquake. Sometime after midnight, I checked the clock. 2:47 a.m. That's when I heard it. A slow scratch, metallic. Right against our window screen. I froze. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Something dragging long nails across the mesh. Then it stopped, and I heard breathing. Heavy, wet, almost like a dog panting after running full speed. But not quite a dog. I didn't move. Didn't blink. I just stared at that window and prayed whoever, whatever, was outside wouldn't push that screen in. The breathing lasted minutes, but felt like hours. Then, the footsteps padded away. I didn't sleep again until the sun came up. The following night, I kept my eyes on the clock, waiting. 2:47 a.m. Right on time. The scratching returned, but louder, angrier, like it knew I'd heard it the night before. There was a smell now, rotten, hot, like something dead baking under the desert sun. Kent stirred. "What's that smell?" he whispered. "Go back to sleep." "Is there someone outside?" "Just go back to sleep, Kent." Then the scratching stopped. A moment of silence, and then a voice. "Let me in." It sounded like my grandmother, but wrong. Slightly off tone. Too slow. Too smooth. Kent shot up in bed. "Grandma!" I lunged for the window, slammed it shut, and locked it. Outside, the thing made a sound. A half laugh, half growl. Then it walked away. In the morning, the window screen had deep claw marks. The frame was bent. Grandfather saw it. Didn't say a word. Just replaced the screen and burned sage. That night and every night after, the windows stayed closed. And the footsteps came back. On the roof this time. Pacing. Deliberate. Heavy. Way too heavy for a coyote or dog. Kent cried silently into his pillow. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. We stayed awake until sunrise. 3 weeks after the thing walked on our roof. Our dog Checkers went missing. Checkers wasn't just a pet. He was family. Black and white mutt with floppy ears and a tail that wagged so hard you'd think it hurt. Kent picked him from a litter at the pound. Checkers slept in my room, followed me everywhere, and stole food off your plate if you weren't paying attention. He went out to pee around 9 p.m. Dad opened the back door. Checkers trotted outside like always. 10 minutes passed. 15. Then 20. Dad stepped outside with a flashlight, calling his name. Nothing. Soon the whole family was out searching. Mom drove slow through the neighborhood while Kent and I yelled out the windows. Neighbors joined. Flashlights. Voices calling into the darkness. Someone 2 houses down swore they saw Checkers near their trash cans earlier, but that was it. Around 2 a.m., we finally gave up. Kent cried himself to sleep. I stared out the window until sunrise. The next day, we printed flyers at Kinko's. Mom took us door to door. Kent did most of the talking, voice cracking every time he said Checkers. He's really friendly, Kent told people. He won't bite. Please call us if you see him. A week passed. The flyers bleached in the sun. The phone never rang. Mom suggested maybe we could visit the pound. Maybe look at puppies. Kent slammed his bedroom door. He wouldn't come out for an hour. On day 10, someone called saying they saw a black and white dog, and 12 days after Checkers disappeared, I found him. Just before sunrise, I went to the living room for water, glanced out the window, and there he was, sitting on the porch, facing the door, perfectly still. I should have been happy. Should have yelled for Mom and Dad. But something was wrong. Checkers never sat still. He'd have been scratching, barking, whining, wagging, something. He wasn't panting. His mouth was shut tight, even though the morning was already hot. His fur was spotless, too spotless, like someone groomed him. And the one thing that froze my blood. His eyes were black, flat, reflecting nothing. I watched him for 5 minutes. He didn't blink, didn't tilt his head, didn't move. Mom came downstairs. "What are you doing up?" "Checkers is back," I whispered. She gasped and ran to the door. I grabbed her arm. "Wait!" But she pulled free. "Baby, he's been gone for almost 2 weeks." She opened the door. That's when Checkers stood up. Not like a dog, not a smooth motion. His back legs locked, then his front legs. He pushed himself upright like a puppet being jerked by strings. Mom froze. Checkers' head rotated toward her. Too fast, too smooth, like it was on a swivel, not a neck. Then his eyes locked on hers. Dad stepped in, voice sharp. "Back up from the door. Now." Mom retreated. Checkers stepped forward, crossing the threshold into our house. He opened his mouth, and a sound came out that shredded my childhood. "Ma son." A wet, warped whisper. My name. From a dog's mouth. Dad snatched the baseball bat he kept by the door. "Get out!" Checkers tilted his head. Too far. Almost sideways. Then he turned, walked off the porch, and stopped at the edge of our yard. Then he tried to stand upright again. Got halfway. Front paws dangling down like hands. Body trembling. Wobbling. Held that awful half-human posture for 3 long seconds, and then dropped back to all fours. He leapt the neighbor's fence in one bound and disappeared. We stood there silently. The world suddenly too quiet. A minute later, Kent came down, rubbing his eyes. "What's going on?" Dad swallowed hard. "Nothing. Go back to bed." "Was that Checkers?" I said it before Dad could lie. "No, that wasn't Checkers." Kent's face fell apart. He collapsed, crying. Dad called grandfather, Ear the Park. We raced there. But it wasn't Checkers. Kent saw the wrong dog, and it was like the light left his face. That was the first time I saw him look older than his age. Grandfather showed up the next morning with bundles of herbs, jars of ash, dried plants, cloth-wrapped charms. He didn't comfort us, didn't say, "Everything will be okay." He went straight to work. He burned herbs in every room, marked our windows with ash, hung protection bundles over every door. When he finally sat us down, he said, "Whatever came to your door yesterday, it was not your dog. Your dog died out there. Something else wore his skin." Mom cried. Dad looked sick. Kent stared at the floor, broken. Grandfather continued, "They watch, they wait, they learn. They try to become what you want them to be, until the moment you invite them inside." We burned Checkers' collar that evening. Kent cried again. I didn't. I knew the real Checkers was gone. For months after, I had nightmares. I dreamed that Checkers came back again, standing at the foot of my bed, eyes black, mouth opening too wide, and he'd say my name again, Myason. Kent had nightmares too. He checked under his bed every night, slept with lights on. Neither of us ever asked for another dog. The nightmares didn't stop. They just faded into something we learned to live with. I packed that memory away, buried it deep. But years later, when I was a grown man, a wilderness EMT, on a rescue mission in the high desert near Cortez, I saw those eyes again, not on a dog this time, but on a man we found when we should have found a body, and everything I buried came back to life. Years passed after the night something wearing my dog's skin tried to walk into our home. I grew up, went to college, got my EMT certification, worked wilderness search and rescue in San Juan County for 15 years. I saw things in the backcountry that stayed with me. Bodies half buried in snow. Hikers who fell from cliffs. It's people frozen in crevices. People lost for days with hypothermia, delirium, frostbite. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened in 2006. Because in 2006, I found something wearing a man. It was October, Saturday morning. Still dark outside. I was awake. Divorce had wrecked my sleep patterns. When the phone buzzed. Tom's number. A 25-year veteran. A man who didn't panic, didn't exaggerate, didn't call unless someone was in real trouble. I answered. Mason, we've got a missing hiker. Navajo male, 32, name's Joseph Benally. Went out Thursday near the Sleeping Ute Mountain Trail system. Wife expected him home last night. He never showed. I was already pulling on my boots. What's the weather? Tom sighed. A cold front pushed through. Temps dropped to the low 30s. He's been out there 2 nights minimum. Gear? Wife says he had enough for a day hike, jacket, pack, water, but not enough to last 2 nights. I'm out the door, I said. Tom paused. There's something else, Mason. You should hear this. His tone changed, the way men talk when they are about to say something they don't want to believe. 2 ranchers reported livestock killings out in that area. Calves torn open, organs missing. Nation police sent someone, but they didn't like what they saw. What do you mean? One rancher said he found human footprints near a kill site. Human? Yep, barefoot, middle of the night. They went right up to a barbed wire fence, then disappeared. Coyote tracks on the other side. I froze in the doorway. Human footprints that vanish. Coyotes on the other side. It hit too close to an old memory I tried hard to forget. I'll be there in 20, I said. I made it in 25. It was still dark, the sky just starting to lighten. 6 trucks already there. Sheriff's office, rangers, volunteers. Mark Webb with his tracking dog, Bear. Sarah, one of the best hikers I'd ever worked with. Tom spread a topo map over the hood of his truck. His truck still at the trailhead. Keys locked inside. No signs of a struggle. He's out there somewhere. Has he done this trail before? I asked. Wife says he hikes this area once a month. Knows the terrain. Tom rubbed his jaw, the way he did when something didn't add up. Look, the ranchers are scared. They're saying weird shit. I don't want rumors getting in people's heads. You stay sharp today. I nodded, but something in the air felt wrong. Even before sunrise, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. I'd learned to trust that silence. We divided into 3 teams. Mine, Sarah, Mark, Bear, the tracking dog, and me. Bear picked up Joseph's scent from a jacket his wife gave us. The first mile was easy trail. The second mile, we found the first strange thing. A dead raven, perfectly intact, no wounds, lying in the middle of the trail like it had been placed there. Bear refused to go near it, whined and backed up behind Mark's legs. That was not normal. Half a mile later, we found 3 more ravens, in a line, like markers. Sarah whispered, "This is creepy as hell." She wasn't wrong. About 2 miles in, Bear suddenly froze, ears forward, body stiff, whining softly. "What is it, boy?" Mark asked. But the dog wouldn't move, wouldn't walk, wouldn't sniff, wouldn't even look forward. I stepped ahead to scout, rounded a huge boulder, and the temperature dropped. Not a breeze, not shade. A pocket of freezing air in the middle of nowhere. 10 degrees colder, easily. There was a smell, too. Copper. Rot. Herbs. Something wrong. I looked down. The trail's dirt looked disturbed. Not footprints. More like something had been dragged in weird, looping patterns. Like something was walking in circles. Or playing. I called Sarah and Mark over. But when they arrived, the disturbed dirt was gone. Perfect trail. Untouched. Like it had never been there. But the cold spot remained. We kept moving. Bear eventually started tracking again. But he kept looking behind us. Like something was following. 3 miles in, we found a water bottle under leaves. Not dropped. Not kicked. Placed. Standing upright. Label matched the brand Joseph's wife said he packed. Tom's voice crackled over the radio. "Team 2 has sent. Tighten the grid." We pressed deeper. The trees grew thicker. The shadows darker. The forest quieter. Too quiet. You don't realize how loud nature normally is until everything stops. No birds, no insects, no wind, just us and something else. At one point, Sarah slipped and grabbed a pine branch. She yelped, pulled her hand back, 5 shallow cuts across her palm. "What the hell?" she said. I checked the branch. Looked normal. Smooth bark. No thorns. She touched it again. Softly this time. Another cut. "Okay." "Nope," she hissed. Mark tried to push through a bush. His jacket tore in 3 places. Clean slices. The vegetation in this area, it wasn't right. It cut like glass. We moved more carefully after that. 4 miles in, everything died. Not literally, I mean sound. The forest went dead quiet. No noise, just our breathing, our footsteps, and something, somewhere, breathing with us. You know how sometimes you feel watched? This wasn't that. This was being studied. At 10:23 a.m., the radio crackled. Team 2 had found him. North Ridge, Box Canyon. We changed course. 40 minutes of rough hiking later, we saw him. Joseph Benally, sitting on a rock, wrapped in an emergency blanket, holding a canteen. He looked fine. Too fine. His clothes were spotless, hair neat, face calm. No signs of 2 nights in freezing weather. Sarah whispered, "He looks like he took a stroll, not like he was dying out here." I approached. "Joseph, I'm Mason, EMT. I need to check your vitals." He looked at me. His eyes were brown. Normal. But there was nothing behind them. Like looking at a mask. When I checked his pupils, he didn't blink. Not once. I counted in my head. 10 seconds. 30. 45. A full minute. "Joseph, you can blink," I said. He blinked immediately, like I had reminded him. His pulse? Perfect. Exactly 60. His body temperature? Perfect. Not just normal. Textbook. A man lost for 48 hours in freezing temperatures should have been dehydrated, hypothermic, confused, weak. He was none of those things. When someone offered him a protein bar, he said, "I'm not hungry." You don't go 2 days without food or water and say that. We started hiking him back. Everyone stumbled occasionally on the rough trail. Not Joseph. He walked like the ground was flat. Never looked down. Never adjusted. Never misstepped. and he never sweated. Not a drop. Bear the dog refused to go near him. Pulled hard on the leash. Whining. Hair lifted along his spine. When Joseph turned toward the dog, Bear went silent. Perfectly silent, like someone pressed mute. Mark whispered, "He's terrified." Joseph smiled. "Dogs don't like me." "Why?" I asked. His smile stayed too long. "They can tell." "Tell what?" He tilted his head. "That I'm not right." We all froze. Then Joseph laughed, a perfectly normal laugh. "I'm kidding. I was bit by a dog as a kid. They sense fear." But he wasn't afraid. At all. The last half-mile his shadow lagged behind him. Not metaphorically. Literally. One step behind, flowing strangely when he stepped over logs. I kept watching. Every hair on my body stood on end. By the time we reached the trailhead, I knew. We hadn't rescued a man. We'd brought something back. Something that had been waiting. Wearing him. Maybe learning him. We brought Joseph to the medical center in Cortez. It should have been a relief. Finding a missing man alive after 2 nights in freezing temperatures was a damn miracle. But nothing about Joseph felt miraculous. Inside the hospital, he sat on the exam table the same way he sat on that rock in the wilderness. Perfectly still. Back straight. Hands resting on thighs. No fidgeting. No shifting. No human behavior. Carla, a nurse I knew personally, took his vitals. When she stepped out of the room, she pulled me aside. "Everything is normal," she said. I waited. "No, Mason. I mean too normal." His blood pressure was a perfect 120/80. His heart rate was a perfect 60. His temperature was a perfect 98.6. Flawless. Humans fluctuate. Nobody is perfect. "He should be dehydrated," she whispered. "He should show stress. He should be exhausted." He wasn't. His chart looked computer-generated, and when he breathed, his breath didn't fog in the cold room. Everyone's breath fogged, except his. My skin crawled. An hour later, Joseph's wife arrived. Emily. She rushed into the room crying, threw her arms around him. "Oh my God. Joseph, I thought. She froze, right against his face. "Joseph, you look different. Younger. Healthier than a man who'd been lost in the desert." "What did the hospital give you?" she asked, confused. "They didn't give him anything," I said softly. Her eyes darted to mine. He looked back at her. He smiled. But the smile didn't touch his eyes. Behind her, their kids stood silently. A little girl, maybe 8. A boy, around 6. Neither ran to him. The girl even stepped backward toward the wall. "Daddy?" the boy said softly. Joseph turned toward them. "Hello, Michael." His tone was wrong. Too slow, too even, too formal. Emily noticed. I saw it in her eyes. She hugged him again. But this time, I saw her flinch. Just a tiny movement. Like his skin felt the wrong temperature. They discharged him 2 hours later. Emily kept glancing at him, studying him, trying to convince herself everything was okay. The kids stayed far away. When they left, Joseph didn't wave goodbye, didn't look back, just stared straight ahead out the window of the car. I watched them drive away with a knot in my gut. I should have said something. Should have told his wife that the man they were taking home wasn't her husband. But I stayed silent, and that silence haunts me more than anything. A few weeks after the rescue, I ran into Tom at the hardware store. We talked about small things, weather, search grids, gear. Then he asked, "You heard about the Benally situation?" My stomach tightened. "What situation?" He lowered his voice. "Emily called the sheriff's office." I waited. "Joseph's been off." How off? Tom hesitated. Wandering at night, standing in his kids' rooms while they sleep. Emily woke up at 2 a.m. and found him at the foot of the bed. Just standing there, staring at her. Not moving. A cold shiver crawled up my spine. What did the sheriff say? Nothing they can do unless he breaks a law. Tom rubbed his temples. There's more, he said. Deputy Sarah did a wellness check. He swallowed. She said the house felt like a meat locker inside. Windows open, middle of October. The kids were wearing winter coats indoors. My pulse thudded. And Joseph? I asked. Polite, Tom said. Cooperative. But wrong. His words stuck in my mind. Wrong. That was the exact word I'd been afraid to say out loud. Over the next few months, I heard things. Not directly. Small-town rumors. Friends of friends. Whispers. Joseph wasn't eating. He sat in a chair all night, facing the wall. He didn't sleep. His skin felt cold all the time. His kids refused to be alone with him. Emily took the kids to her sister's house in Farmington for a while. She told people Joseph needed space. But her sister told the truth. The kids were terrified of their own father. Sophie, the daughter, said that one night she opened her eyes and found Joseph standing in her doorway, smiling. But not a human smile. More like something trying to imitate one. She swore his eyes reflected like a cat's. Joseph got fired from his job. Co-workers found him sitting at his desk for hours. No blinking, no movement, just staring. One morning, a co-worker caught him looking through her personal photos. When she confronted him, he said, "I'm practicing." Practicing what? Practicing being normal. That was when most people realized something was very, very wrong. The fire, a year passed. Rumors got quieter. People forgot. Life went on. And then one random Tuesday morning in November, I got a call from Sarah. Her voice was shaky. "Mason, turn on the news." I grabbed the remote, flipped channels, and then I saw it. A house fire. Black smoke rising in the cold morning air. Firefighters running. Neighbors crying. The words across the screen. Breaking. Multiple fatalities in Cortez House fire. Then I saw the address. Joseph Benally's house. I stopped breathing. Sarah whispered through the phone, "Mason, Emily and both kids are dead." The room spun. She continued, "The fire didn't kill them. They were shot. Execution style. Single bullet to the head. All three. While they slept." My heart dropped into my stomach. "And Joseph?" "Gone," Sarah said. "He's missing. Truck in the driveway. Front door open. Footprints everywhere. Then nothing." "And the footprints?" I asked, voice trembling. She swallowed. "Barefoot. Human. But they went into the woods and vanished." I sank into a chair. I knew. I knew then. The thing in that house wasn't Joseph. The manhunt lasted weeks. 3 counties joined. Helicopters, thermal drones, dogs, volunteers. They found nothing. Except one thing. One rumor. A ranger told a deputy he'd found strips of skin, human skin, caught in tree branches near Sleeping Ute Mountain. But that was never confirmed publicly. The case went cold. The official story? Joseph snapped. Killed his family. Set the house on fire. Ran into the wilderness. Died somewhere out there. People nodded. Pretended that explanation made sense. But nobody really believed it. Not if they'd seen him. Not if they'd heard him speak. Months later, I moved to Albuquerque. Didn't want to be anywhere near that mountain again. Thought I could outrun what happened. Then Tom called one afternoon. His voice was tired. "Hey, Mason, you sitting down?" "What happened?" "They found some human remains up near Sleeping Ute, scattered over about 30 yards. My stomach twisted. Animals? I asked. Probably scavenged, yeah. But they still had clothing remnants, wallet, phone. And? They ran DNA. I waited. It was Joseph. Mason. It was Joseph Benelli. My blood ran cold. No, that's impossible. He killed his family 6 months ago. Tom cut me off. You're not listening, Mason? Silence. Then, the medical examiner estimated the remains had been there 2.5 years. I couldn't breathe. 2.5? 2.5 years, Mason. Meaning he died around the time he first went missing. The phone nearly slipped out of my hand. Mason, Tom said softly, if Joseph died the first night he disappeared. He paused. Then what the hell did we bring back from the mountain? I had no answer. Just the same awful truth that had been whispering at the edges of my mind for years. Whatever we rescued that day wasn't human, wasn't alive, wasn't Joseph. It was something wearing him, something that had learned how to walk like him, talk like him, smile like him, live in his house, sleep in his bed, kiss his wife, stand over his children at night. Something waiting for the right moment, something patient, something ancient, something my grandfather warned me about when I was 10, something that came back home with us and killed the real family it had learned to imitate. So now I'm asking you, the way Mason asked himself, if the man we brought down from the mountain died 2.5 years earlier, then the thing walking beside us on that trail, the thing riding in Sarah's patrol car, the thing hugging its wife, the thing tucking its children in at night, the thing staring at them while they slept. What was it? What did we bring back? What did we let into that home? And when we closed the door behind it, who did we trap inside with it?